Thanks for checking into Redline Racers. We hope you had a wonderful experience looking at all of our beautiful bikes, and hopefully you found the one that matches your riding style. The purpose of this video is to go ahead and make sure that you have a basic understanding of what you need to do to maintain your motorcycle, so that way it's safe, so that way you can continue to ride and do it in a manner that it doesn't harm other people as well. Let's go ahead and tune in a little bit at this stage. We're going to go ahead and break down what you should look for in your new sport bike. So the first thing that we're going to look at is going down the list that you have in front of you, which is your pre-delivery inspection. That sheet is what we check on your bike to make sure that everything is solid. First thing on it is going to be your axle nut and drain plug. Let's go ahead and take a look. For those, we're going to come to the front. So these are very crucial, and it's very important that they're tight. This is going to be your axle right over here. These are the pinch bolts that tighten it in. So here it looks like everything is tight, nothing is damaged. We're going to go to the other side. Here and looking down here, this little nut is what holds it in and tightens it up, and clearly it's very tight here. We're going to go onto the back, same exact thing. Looking at here, your rear axle, look at that, that's tight, that looks safe to us. Here is what locks in your chain adjustment. At the same time, we look at this is tight. Same thing to the other side. This adjuster as well, tight and firm. Good to go. Next, we're going to go right down to the drain plug. On this vehicle, the drain plug is actually located right over here, and we can see that it's very dry. There's nothing out, and that tells you that it is tight. If it's loose in any way, you will have oil around it. All right, guys, so going right down the list, we're going to go ahead and start by taking a look at our front tire, back tire, and our rim condition. This is a very important step, as the tires is what keeps you on the ground. So if you don't take a good look at your tires and you don't maintain them, it is something that can absolutely get you involved in an accident. So we do encourage you to look very carefully, and don't try to save $100 on a tire that needs to be replaced. That can cost you a lot more if you have an accident on that tire. So come on by, let's take a look at this condition. Now here, the rim, you can tell it's a circle. There's no dents, there's no, any type of impacts to it. Looking at the condition of the tire, you have still the little, the nubbies on it. Brand new tire on this vehicle in particular. You can see the depth, it's very full. This tire is in great condition. Another thing you should look at is the age of the tire. We don't recommend riding on vehicles that are more than 3 years old of tire, because the newer the better, the safer it is, but always look at the overall condition. Any type of dry rots, all of that is bad on a bike. So in this condition, beautiful front tire. Now we're gonna go to the back tire. Same exact condition. This is the Pilot Power, very sticky, very good tires. In this one as well, she's full, literally good to go. And there's no nails, no craziness. If you look inside of here, you'll see a little tiny nipple there. That is your wear mark indicator. Whenever this tire is ready to be replaced, that guy gets touched. So pretty much whenever this gets flat, that is eventually touched, which means it's telling you it's time to replace. So if you want to see what it looks like when a tire is worn and definitely no longer a good tire, here's a good example of one. This is the exact tire you just saw, that one that was full. That's what it looks like when it's used. Now, this is beyond use. So this guy has been riding it for more than what it needed to happen. This is considered very dangerous. This is big no-no. If you ever ride your bike and you notice that it's not turning good, you should check your tire pressure. This is very dangerous. Your bike can't even lean, and this is not good at all. It makes it so your tires get worn bad. Optimal, it should be around 40. So we're gonna go ahead and raise it. But when the weather is hot, we recommend 35, 36. When it's cold, we recommend being around 37, 38. So we're gonna keep going up. 33. 36. All right, because it's cold, this is considered very, very good tire pressure for winter. Some people have higher and lower preferences, but at least it's now in the good zone. This is going to be wheel bolts and rotor. So here's our rotor right over here. We will always want to take a look just to make sure that none of these bolts are missing. This is your brake power. All about 75% of the brakes is in the front. We want those to be tight and definitely not damaged. Same thing for the caliper bolts. You want to take a look at those, make sure it's flush, nothing is loose, everything feels tight. That's one side. Same for the other opposite side. Then we'll go back to the reverse. And now in the back of the bike, same thing, there's your sprocket. Those are the sprocket nuts. We want to make sure they're all good. Sometimes aluminum ones crack, but in this case, these are all brand new and solid. Same thing for the rotor in the back. Everything looks good, nothing is missing, and it looks perfect. All right, guys, let's go ahead and check into the electronics. It's very important to make sure that your vehicle has signals, horn, high beam. That way it can connect with other riders or other drivers in the road. We encourage you to also use them. Bikes are already hard to see. We definitely encourage you to use your signal so people know what you're doing. So let's see what she's got going on. All right, bike's low beam. It looks like it's working great. Let's turn on the high beam. There's the high beam, low beam. So that works perfectly. Let's check our signals. Great. Same thing here. They're working greatly. Let's go ahead and go to the back of the vehicle at this point and check to make sure that our back signals work. Same thing there, blinking beautifully. We're gonna go to the other side. All right, let's check our front brakes and let's check our rear brakes. All right, and horn. Okay, this vehicle is definitely not having any issues as far as signals, headlights, or anything like that. All right, guys, let's check out the charging system on this vehicle. For this, we have to get underneath the bike, so that way underneath the seat so we can get to the battery. On this bike, you're gonna pull this guy off a little bit. Always be a little delicate as there is tabs and you don't wanna break them. So there's one side there. Same thing for the other side. Every vehicle will be a little bit different. This is how you get to the seat on your Gixxer 600. Next, we're gonna go ahead and take this screw right over here off. There we are. Okay. And the purpose of this is to make sure that the vehicle is able to charge itself. This is not a car. A car is something that when it's like dead, you can let it run for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes fully charged. This is not the case. In these bikes, you want to let the battery always be on a charger, so that way the battery is optimal. And then when you start your vehicle and it runs, that way the vehicle can recharge itself, not be completely dry and has to fully charge itself. So here's our battery, positive terminal, negative terminal. Let's go ahead and take a look to see what is the current voltage on this vehicle. All right, we get our multimeter, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this guy right here, and she is at, so there's the battery. So at 11.3, which actually means this battery is a little bit low, but it does start the vehicle. Now, this is something that in this condition, we encourage you to charge it. So once the vehicle is being sold, we're gonna charge this bike a little bit so we can make sure the battery is full. Now we're gonna turn on the bike and we should see that this charging output should be around 14. The battery is 12 volts, which means that if it's 11 to 12 and the output is that when it's running, the vehicle is not charging. But when it's at 14, it is charging. So let's start the vehicle. All right, guys, so now that the vehicle is running, let's go ahead and check to make sure it's properly charging. So we got to see it was a little low before this. So now let's see, now that the vehicle is running, we do the same test. Look at that. So you can see it's charging at 14.3. right there, and it's very stable. It's holding itself. That shows us that the battery is 12, and we saw it was 11.5, which means a little low. 14 means the bike is charging beautifully. This is what you need to make sure that your bike shows in order to make sure you don't get abandoned one day by the side of the road. Right there, perfect charging out. Next is going to be your engine oil level and condition. Let's take a quick look. So on this vehicle in particular, you have what's called a sight glass. It's right over here. You can see your oil level through this. There's your low and there's your high. You always want to be in the middle. If you notice, it looks like there's no oil in this bike. That's because it's on its kickstand. Whenever you do this test, the vehicle must be upright. If you do an oil change, the vehicle must be upright. So if you're on a kickstand and you can see oil, you have too much oil in your poor little engine. We're gonna go ahead and pick it up. And the vehicle is now upright and straight. If you notice, the oil is coming right to that middle mark. That means that this vehicle has the proper amount of oil in it, and the color of it wasn't super dark. We can see it was a little bit like honey. So this oil is in very, very good condition, and it's good to go for another couple thousand miles. And we definitely encourage you to change your oil. These machines run hard. The more you change it, the better they will last. Okay guys, so next up, we're gonna go ahead and look at our brake condition and our fluids, front brake and rear brake fluid. So we can see the pads on this vehicle are right here. So we will check these for you, but the pads are inside of there. There's a little wear mark indicator, and it's like a little line, and that's the same thing that tells you how much wear it has. In this condition, the vehicle has got great looking brake pads, and we're gonna go right up here to now the brake fluid right up here. So if you notice, this is the same thing. This is a hydraulic fluid. There's your upper, there's your lower. The condition of the color is not bad, and everything looks full. We're gonna come back here to the rear of this vehicle. So if you can look through here, the reservoir for the back is there. It's kind of hard to see, but that's the one. And right there, that bracket looks like it's full. Everything looks perfect on the brakes. And when we push down, it's resisting. If you are way too squishy, it's going down. There's either a pocket of air or there's a problem with the system. In this case, brake is responding beautifully in the front and the rear. Guys, so next up, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at your chain condition. Chain is very, very important on a bike, and it's something that's being used the entire time when you ride. We encourage you to keep your chains lubricated and adjusted. If you don't, too tight of a chain can be very bad for your engine, and too loose of a chain can also be very bad. If it pops off and it touches you, it will hurt. That's why it's very important and crucial to make sure your chain is not too loose and not too tight and not too dry. You gotta keep it clean if you wanna ride these bikes. So come on here and let's take a look at this vehicle. In this condition, the chain actually looks very healthy. This is a very low mileage vehicle, but it looks very healthy. We've already applied some lube. If you noticed, we got some gunk on my hands. This is good. You wanna have this on metal contacts. When we push it up to check the tension, we're gonna pull it up, and from the top, it's supposed to only come down an inch to inch and a half. So if you notice, that is the full play. Right there from where my hand is moving about inch and a half right there. This is the perfect amount of tension. If your chain is droopy and you can literally flick it, that is way too loose. If your chain, you cannot bend even like this, that is way too tight. This right here is the correct tension. And right here is where the adjustment happens. If you ever need to adjust your chain, the tension, you do it with these adjusters right over here on both sides of the vehicle. All right, guys, next on the list, we're gonna go ahead and look at our fork condition and rear shock condition. Those are also very important that they're also in good condition and they've been serviced. So in order to do this one, they show that if it's got any bad conditions, it'll show itself very easily. You wanna be dry. If you notice in here, this fork tube is very, very dry. It looks very clean. That's how it should look. If you guys wanna follow me, I'll show you a bad looking fork. So let's go over here. Okay, so this is gonna be a little hard to see, but this vehicle is being serviced. This right here is what we want to, what the signs of a leaking fork look like. If you notice, it's wet. It's got fluids on it. There's oils inside of it, and it's very clearly on the actual tube. Their seal here has gone bad. It's starting to leak through here. That is part of routine maintenance. If you start leaking, call us and we can definitely help you with setting up an appointment for service on your bike. All right. right, so for the rear shock, it's very easy for this one. You just kind of want to take a look at it. Make sure it doesn't look broken. Make sure that there's no damages around it. This is something that really doesn't get tampered much. It's inside of the vehicle. It's kind of covered. In this condition, we just look to make sure everything is where it should be and there's no slop anywhere. That looks great. Let's check out your clutch adjustment. So we're going to go to the left side. So as you guys know, this right here is your clutch. You're pulling it. When you feel this, if you notice, there's a little bit of looseness right here. This is what your bike must have. If you end up this is the adjuster. Look, you can turn this and it's going to reduce that line. You don't want to do that where to a point that this has become very firm. That makes it so your bike is not able to release its clutch completely. So always make sure your vehicle has a small bit of play. That is enough right there to make sure that your clutch is easily and fully released. Right there, clutch feels firm, good, and not too tight. Okay, so next on our list is going to be the muffler, radiator cooling system, and radiator hoses. Those are all things that are going to be a little bit hard for you to see everything, but what we do is we run your vehicle to a temperature where the fans kick on, making sure that that your coolant pump is running, everything is moving through the bike with maximum pressure. What that does is if there's any weak spots, anywhere where it's not very secure, it should leak. That's our test to make sure that we can see it. These are used bikes, so it's very difficult to always find everything, but typically it shows itself. So right now we're seeing in the muffler condition of this vehicle, original muffler, no damages, no nothing. You do want to have a muffler on your bike. It helps it to have some more back pressure. It actually operates a little bit better and stronger. Sometimes being the loudest bike is not necessarily the best thing. Loud pipes do save lives, but they can also be annoying and bad for your engine as well. You want to make sure whatever you do, you tune them properly. So if you change the muffler, you do want to go ahead and also update the bike so it knows there's a different muffler in it. And then going right down to our cooling condition. So when it comes to coolant, you always want to make sure your reservoir has some coolant in it. If you want to look right through here, this is where the coolant is on this vehicle, where the reservoir is. Reservoir is right underneath. Now, it looks to my eyes that it's on the lower end of the section, but this is a reservoir, so this is supposed to just have extra for you. The radiator itself is what holds all your fluid, and in an event that it's actually got a pocket of air, it's going to go ahead and overheat. We test all the vehicles to make sure they don't overheat before we sell it. Your fans kick on at 220 degrees, and that most bikes, unless they've been flashed or tuned. In an event that the vehicle does not start the fan at 220, there's something wrong with the cooling system. You want to be very mindful of these things. If your bike gets above 225 degrees, it's starting to get to sections where it's failing cooling. You need to possibly pull over. If the temperatures are going above 230, 100% your cooling system is failing. You need to stop your vehicle, and we need to go ahead and get it serviced. There could be a pocket of air or something as simple as, it just needs to be burnt. Guys, on this vehicle in particular, the temperature on the fan starts at 219. So right there you go. The fans have just started. So if you look at that temperature, you'll notice that temperature is going to start going down. 221. Come on. There we go. We're starting to go down now. 220. This is the cooling system. If you don't see it act like this, it means it's failing. But this is absolutely normal. Vehicle goes to 220. Fan turns on as you can hear it, and it will cool itself down to a good temperature until it needs to climb back up again. We're going to watch it do a full cycle on this run. 212. And the fan should start. There you go. The fan just stopped. That means at 210, she detects she's at a good temperature, and the fan stops. So soon we're going to notice the temperature is going to start raising back up again. Once it goes up to 220, the fan kicks on again. So one thing with radiator, we always want to look at this radiator right here. If you look to see if there's any damages to it, sometimes there'll be little tiny rock chips, but nothing crazy. We're looking to see if it's wet, if anywhere is leaking. This one looks damn near perfect. Alright guys, so next is going to be grips and throttle adjustment. So we just want to make sure that the grips are on the bike tight. Sometimes grips do get loose and they get worn, as it's the area people are always grabbing. Now throttle is very important, which is on this side. So if you look at the throttle, you want to make sure that it does not get stuck. Throttle should always be able to bounce back, and it has to have a good pop to it. If it's going back in a slow manner or sticking, not good. Sometimes grips can get stuck on the corner here or the bar end here, making it so it resists snapping back. But in this condition, it looks very tight. It's not very loose here. You do want to have a little bit of play. That is completely normal. You don't want to have it super tight. In an event that it does get a little bit loose because cables get worn, you come right over here, and right here is the adjusters. You move this sock back and you can adjust your cable right through there. The last couple items on this checklist is going to be FI codes, engine cover, and fairings. So this is going to be like your check engine. If you have a check engine, absolutely we recommend you to look into it. Sometimes it's a very minor thing where it doesn't affect performance or the bike, but we do recommend you to check it because sometimes they're very important and they can make your bike not run the way it should. The bike is trying to tell you something if there is a problem. Guys, let's check out the new type of codes on this bike. Again, this is a very, very clean unit. So, and most of our bikes, when we sell them, they almost never have a code. If they do, it could be because of the servo, which is for the exhaust. Other than that, we make sure the bikes have no codes. Here is where a light would display if there is a code. And right here, you can see it's running perfect with no codes in any way. And now let's take a look at the overall condition of the bike as we want to stand back and make sure everything looks safe. So, just taking a quick scan. Everything from my eyes looks beautiful. We know it's safe. Nothing is just hanging out inappropriately. Everything looks tight. Chrome sliders look great. Screws are where they should be. We checked axle already. Keep going. Everything looks perfect here. Bike is ticking perfectly. Literally. That right there is a pre-delivery inspection that is now completed. We can't trust this bike. We know that she's not going to have any issues, and we know she's going to run strong. All right, Redline family, I hope this gave you a little bit of information on how to be safe and what to look for whenever you are trying to ride your bike and maintaining it. We encourage you to listen to our words. We've made these videos just for you. Take the time to get familiar with it, and if you have any questions, call us. We can absolutely help you. If you ever want to change the color of your rims, if you want to tune your bike for performance, or whatever you want to do, wrap it, add your colors, let us know. Here's a little bit of our work right here.